It's just-in-time supply chain.
Yeah, you might be right with that, but on the other hand, I kind of wonder. Okay, so what's the alternative? I mean, imagine like there are countless things that nobody needs stored all over the place.
Oh yeah, I agree. But I mean, like, this was just not a good look, you know?
Yeah, yeah, sure.
I- and they knew that shit was happening too. Like I mean, people knew about this enough to move their stocks around, right?
Yeah,
So how the hell didn't people know? I mean, am I wrong? It's just why couldn't they get us a PPE for the nurses and the doctors?
no, no,
Oh,
of course they could have,
yeah, they could have. They didn't.
no question
I'm a
about
little
that.
mad about it. Yeah, a little mad about it. Oh, well. So, earlier I was doing a little thing on how Trump says he's positive that he's positively, what do you say, positively toward negative about his test,
Yes.
COVID-19.
Yep. So
Um,
was the rest of the nation.
I don't know. Yeah, exactly. He's, but the way he says it is like, how you know that people didn't like pay attention ever in school, like ever.
No, no, I don't.
That
I don't know those kind of people.
All right. Well, I've heard them, and
Yeah,
they sound like Donald Trump, basically.
I
So,
know. It's sometimes that I don't know honestly what I'm very torn on that subject. So, the German school system would basically just not have that, right? So because
yeah.
if you like the kind of the so I have a student who's a reading and writing disability
Yeah.
as an adult. And so first of all, I can't seriously can't recall ever meeting somebody in Germany that would have had that. I mean, of course, they're dyslexic people
Yeah.
that have have their problems, but somehow they
Mm.
manage. Um,
So, I mean, but they probably get a little extra help here and there when they need it, right? I mean,
y-
maybe there's a stigma against it here where kids wait too long to be found out, or whatever.
I don't know. I don't know. The only thing that I know for sure is I mean I meet people, adults, left and right that really lack what I would call basic education,
Yeah, that's not anything new here.
and you kind of
So,
wonder oh, I mean, how is that possible? I mean,
yeah.
it's not that. I mean, the public school system is actually not funded that badly in most regions, at least. It should be enough to basically say, okay, so basic general knowledge is something that we can supply.
I don't know, and I often wonder that too. Yeah, I was terribly embarrassed when I would talk to Europeans, because I would always think to myself, their education system, somehow they're all just very well informed, but they're not being sort of. I get the feeling that they take their studies seriously, and people wouldn't accept just sort of laziness or something. Like maybe that's what it's about. I'm not quite sure.
Okay.
Um, I don't know for sure, but it just seemed like everybody I spoke, everyone pretty much that I've ever spoke to that was raised in Europe or had a fair amount of time there. They had a few things in common. They had pretty much a good work ethic, yeah, and then they were active people, and then there just were some certain sort of fundamental truths like you know saving is good, forethought is important. There's logic involved in pretty much everything that you talk about with them. They're not bullshit artists. You know what I mean? Um, and I can't put my finger on it. I can't. Over here in the States, you know how it is. You don't know if somebody's telling you a lie, um, and they're like trying to build up their image or something. I didn't get a lot of that over there. So, I don't
Hmm.
know.
Yeah, no, no, I don't know. I don't think that people are as different as in general. I mean, people are the same from like their basic needs, and they like to brag, and they like to
Right.
yeah. So I'm not sure if that's really that we're fundamentally different. I mean,
I mean, the dimmest
other
person
than being
I met was a
inherently
girl
better,
at
of
the end.
course,
Oh,
right?
sorry.
Right. I mean, other than we're inherently better, but
Yeah, yeah, of course, yeah. Well, I just think the education system is teaching them facts and not, I don't know, maybe we take too much time for propaganda. You know,
oh
I know
yeah,
it's
that's the
dumb,
thing.
but
That's actually that's a thing.
okay,
Yeah, no, that's shockingly true, right? So I mean, I see that with
okay.
my kids going to the American school system.
I was just thinking about how I had, the Pledge of Allegiance, had to say it, and how little I knew about what I was saying when I was a kid. You know what I mean?
Yeah, yeah,
Yeah.
unfortunately, absolutely.
It's
Um,
complete nonsense. What good is it to a child? You know? The best you can say is, okay, this is what you say when you're in a club or something. Like we're all in a club together, and in order to be in the club you have to say these words.
yeah,
I mean, that's the best you can possibly explain to a kid why they would have to repeat this.
yeah, yes, and that's exactly. It's. I mean, yeah, you know my stance on that. I find it highly questionable.
Yeah, me too. And I have my issues with it, of course, but I mean, like, for instance, the only thing I could think of in the I Pledge Allegiance was the lemon scented stuff my mom used to spray on the wood. Pledge. It's called Pledge, and she would say, "Go and get the pledge, and I want you to do Grandma's table." So they pledge, and you spray it in your cloth, and you go do all the wood. It's just for dusting and stuff, right?
Uh huh.
So the whole time I'm in school, I mean, for the first few years, all I can think of is saying this about the wood and whatever. Because I was thinking, well, maybe it has something to do with the plaque on the wall. Maybe that's why we say I pledge allegiance. And what's allegiance? I'm pledging one of these allegiances, right?
Yeah,
I'm
yeah,
thinking as I pledge a allegiance, one,
yeah. One of those filthy
one
allegiances.
allegiance,
Yeah,
and I'm talking about the spray can, right? So literally, these are the images in my head when I'm a child, right? So kids don't know what the hell they're saying.
yeah, yeah. Okay, so let's just assume it doesn't cause damage, right? Which I, by the
Yeah,
way, I kind of like, I reject, right? Because the same is true to some extent. If you look at something like religion, right, where you say like,
right,
well, okay, sure, where's the harm? Like, okay, so a kid will
right.
will probably not um, overthink it. Um, but the point is like, well, but we all know what becomes of people that have been raised in a very fundamental way when it comes to religion.
Yeah, they have nightmares about going to hell well into their 30s, even after they don't believe in God anymore.
Correct. And then you would say like, okay, so that for some reason accounts for I mean, for just brainwashed adults, right? There's just no
Yes.
other way of saying it with trying to be
Yeah.
at least somewhat respectful. But I kind of gave up on that a little bit. But that's a different story. Uh,
Yeah, that's all right. You're
uh,
not insulting anybody who cares, so I mean,
yeah,
I was just talking about how we should go, we should open up the churches. You want to call them essential? That's fine with me. I mean, yeah, at this point I'm just like whatever. You go lick each other for all I care.
yeah,
So, yeah, brainwashed adults. I mean it's sad and even reasonable people, very reasonable people believe in that stuff. So, just I don't know. It's hard to eradicate, that's for sure. Almost like if you deny somebody the ability to have a religious, upbringing, they might even rebel. Oh, I don't know.
if you deny them a religious upbringing.
Yeah, like I've heard about kids whose parents just they were vaguely Catholic or whatever, and they turn hard into religion when they get older because they finally find a crew to hang with, or like if their parents never talked about religion. I think if you purposely say to your kids, "We're atheists because there's no like logic in it," then that's at least giving a border like is the line basically. Like you don't have to worry about God. There is no God. That's just something that people say, or it's a game they play essentially themselves. But if you just have a vague religious belief and you just never talk to your kids about it, and maybe they discover it later and they haven't been pre-prepped for this is nonsense. You know what I mean? So
I think I know what you mean, but see, yeah, but that's what I mean, right? So then you're not educating them.
yeah, I suppose that would be it.
Because I mean, and that's, yeah, and that's a little bit how I mean, that is a form of propaganda in itself. I mean, that's a little bit the problem with something like the Pledge of Allegiance, right? So we're inherently the good guys, and
God, I know.
so it doesn't matter if that's true or not. It's
Did you read the conversation a little bit last night that I was having with that person? Because this came up. They
um,
literally they were
I'm
the kind of person that thought, "Oh, America's the guy. Capitalism is awesome, right?" You know, without a second thought.
okay. No, I missed that, but the
That's okay. That's okay.
okay.
Doesn't matter.
I mean, this connection, even, right? That that's already part of the problem, right? If you say, well, that's a given, right? So if you don't like capitalism, then you don't like America, whatever. Like I mean,
That's crazy.
yeah, that's already something like, okay, wow. I mean, what constructed that in your brain? That's a necessity.
Well, that's because they always hear about the fight between communism and capitalism, and unfortunately, the borders were drawn, or the lines were drawn on that fight. You know what I mean? Way back in the day. I mean, America. I know America was pretty socialistic back in like the late 1800s, 1900, early 1900s. There were factions of there were socialist movements being put down by there was workers rebellions. There were the fights of the Pinkertons, Free State of Jones, and all that other shit. Um, and there were anarchists. Yeah, there were anarchists, um, and that's part of the reason why we have the state of New Hampshire is because a bunch of people went up there and were like, "We want to live free or die," and part of that was socialism. So, I mean, or at least a rebellion against the idea of having to live in a small town that was completely owned by a company you worked at, and then shopping at the company store, uh, that kind of thing. So we have a rich history of, socialist movements in this country. It's just people don't know that. They think it's inherently un-American to be against ultra capitalism.
Hmm.
So I don't know.
Yeah, I think you're right. I think you're right. No question about that. But I'm not really sure if I would agree with that's how the border was drawn, right? It's because so it doesn't make sense what you're saying, actually, to be honest with you. You cannot because you're saying, like, okay, so like that was the West, that was the East, and at the same time, kind of say, like, well, hold on, like, if you actually look into it, that's not how it was, right? Ever, right? I mean, there were always strong movements of socialism in the U.S. There were always well, there was a strong
Well,
Nazi party in the U.S. too, right?
what I mean is the line that sort of won out is it's us versus the Ruskies, and they're communists, and we're what are we? We're socialists, and we're Christians. We believe in a God, essentially. So that's why I feel that all my life that's kind of the line that I've heard anyway. But you really have to dig into history in America, like a people's history of America, essentially, in order to dig up this information is not told to you is what I'm saying. It's not taught. you're taught that we're capitalists and it's just great. So
Yeah, no, yeah,
you know,
no, that's very true. But you're not. But this connection that you say, like, okay, so the equations, right? I mean, that's propaganda to say, like, okay, capitalism equals freedom equals
yeah,
America, like the kind of, like,
right.
how where do you draw that conclusion? Wait, why is that not possible? One without the other, right?
Yes, I agree. Yeah, of course. You know, and the thing is like you always hear, hippies and communes and things like that. And then they're always sort of shown in the media to be like goofy ideas or, you know, um, sort of fanciful or bad, dirty, just anything to make it look as uncool as possible. Be against this notion of all out, all out winner takes all capitalism. I don't know. It's like you're allowed to have a different opinion, only within a certain. Let me put it to you this way: um, if I went out on a street corner near, I don't know, near a factory or whatever, and I started saying, uh, "Hail Satan," or something in America,
Yeah.
um, people would be like, "It's just a problem, crazy person," or even if I said, Jesus was the first gay man, or whatever.
Yeah.
People would disagree, and I might get some pushback. It wouldn't be nearly as problematic as if I was saying that people should seize the means of production and unionize this plant. Oh my God, won't call the police, but they would definitely start talking to each other about what they could do to get rid of me. If I started unionizing people, if I started, putting together a union, I think that's the most dangerous thing you can say in America is, workers and doing collective bargaining and collective action, striking. These are the things you cannot say. This is the Voldemort, it's not, things about religion. You can go above God and you can insult them in a different way, worst way possible, in their wallet. So that like Gesundheit.
Thank you. Um, okay.
Do you not agree that it would be way less popular to say, you know, death to capitalism than it would to be say like, I don't know, fuck Christianity or something in America?
No, I guess it's a regional question.
Yeah.
So I mean, not in the Bible Belt, I would say.
Oh yeah, I guess I don't know. Yeah.
Right. I mean,
I'm just imagining the different reaction you would get. Lord is your savior, and you should be grateful. You're going to hell, blah blah. Versus, I think you should unionize this factory. Don't you? You better get out of here. Sundown's coming.
I mean, yeah.
Yeah, I
Again,
mean,
maybe you're right. I mean, it's. I don't know.
I think it would be. You'll see how quickly people's attitudes change toward. Oh, you're one of them. That would be the immediate. It's one thing to say I don't believe in God or something like that, but man, if you tell them capitalism is wrong and we need to change it,
Yeah.
oh man, that's crazy. You're a crazy person. That's the difference. I guess put yourself in a different category at that point.
Yeah, that's true. But maybe you're right. Maybe I'm just used to be in that category for some reason.
Oh,
Because
this is all new to me. I've grown so much in the last couple of years because I was a lifelong Democrat.
I mean,
Thought that was as far left as you could get in this damn country, and apparently it is as far left as you apparently that's the furthest left you're allowed to be without going off the edge of the world.
Yeah, that's it. That's it. That is the end of the world.
Speaking of the end of the world, I don't have a segue.
Okay.
Oh, and the other night I was doing, I don't know, it just sort of was prompted. I did a segment where I was basically like, okay, this guy in Canada, he went to a massage parlor and he killed this woman, I guess, with a machete or something, because he's an incel.
A
Did you hear
what?
about this? Incel. Invol God. Involuntary celibate. It's a it's an offshoot of this men's rights um, trend, and it has to do with uh, it's almost a cult in a weird way.
I thought it's involuntary.
Involuntary celibacy,
Yeah, if it's involuntary, how can it be a cult? Or then it.
because they identify as one thing together online. So they call themselves incel online so they can talk to each other about it. Which, if you ask me, is the worst thing you can do is label yourself like that.
Uh,
Like, I mean, everybody has a dry spell, right? Yeah, not everybody's getting laid all the time, right? So, it, I don't know. If you don't know about it already, you don't even know the insanity of this situation. Like, it's so crazy. It's hard for me to explain.
yeah, yeah.
These
Okay.
these young people are it's boys and some older men, and for whatever reason, they feel that they are undeserving of sex. They demand that that sex should be given to them by hot women, and at the same time, they find themselves to be so incredibly ugly as to be debilitatingly so. So it's such a weird, ugly brain trap to be in. And then they get angry, and then they go kill people.
Really?
They encourage each other by saying, rate my jawline and tell me if I'm enough of a man to ever get a woman. And they say really weird things to each other, like, oh, you should get jaw surgery so that you can look like this thing called a Chad, which is what they call like the ultimate like alpha male. They call that a Chad. So when I say it's like a cult, it's because they have their own in language. They discourage each other from going out and making themselves better. They drag each other back into these forums. They're on Poll, they're on 4chan.
Uh-huh.
Um, yeah, really dark stuff. They're on Gab a lot, and uh, men's rights organization or whatever they call themselves. They're really big proponents of that. So like they're actually so crazy in their heads. They're thinking women are lucky they get raped because at least they're having sex. I
Okay.
mean, like, oh yeah, they're really. So this is why this guy is so whacked in the head that he goes into the Toronto wank spa basically, and instead of paying for a hand job like a normal person because it's legal there or whatever in Toronto, instead he kills somebody and he goes to
Instead
jail.
of going for.
I mean, okay, so here's my thing. They're talking to each other, right? You want to talk to another man about how hot you look and whether a woman would fuck you? You don't know. If everybody's heterosexual in there, they're not gonna. They're gonna be like, yeah, you're dog ugly, just to mess with you. And
Yeah.
then, so anyway, that was in the news. Well, my solution to that is, I looked the guy up and I was like, he if he just like did his eyebrows a little different, he'd probably get some. What's the problem
He
here?
probably gets it.
I just don't get it. These are for them in the main. They're either so young they're not developed yet, or they're normal looking dudes who just warped their own brains into thinking no woman would ever have me. And it's
Okay.
like, yeah,
Okay. And so.
strange.
Okay. So it's kind of. It's kind of like a morbid. Okay, I understand. So it's cultish in the sense that they they kind of like no, actually, sorry, I still don't get it. So you,
So they discourage each other, but in a group setting, kind of almost like, and it gets darker and darker. You know what I mean? Like, they share they share pictures of like either their bodies or like their like how skinny they are, or how soft their jawline is. This is a big one for some reason. Um, how they don't have the right eyebrow shape, and then they'll say, "Is this suicide fuel?"
oh,
And they'll say, and of course, and the guy across the whatever world in your stupid chat is gonna be like, "Oh yeah, you should definitely do it. Think about killing yourself, okay, bro?" You know, like talk about negative, right? But they do it. This is
this
I
sounds
don't know what it is.
terrible.
It's like it's a frightening hazing. But do you see now? This is why these guys are going off killing people. They've made themselves insane by listening to these jerk offs online. So I don't know. It's so scary out there. It
Yeah.
reminds me. It reminds me a bit of pro Anna, which is these pro anorexia groups online, where they'll teach you how to be anorexic.
No way.
And they have, oh, yes, anorexia and bulimia online forums.
So like a how-to guide.
Hmm. And how to not get caught, what to tell your therapist, and why being anorexic is okay, and how you should abuse yourself properly so that you don't eat because eating is wrong. All this stuff. It's so I just don't understand. Like, but do those anorexics go off and kill somebody because they can't eat pizza? No, they don't, because they don't turn that hatred outward. They just starve themselves to death, you know. But it reminds me of that a lot. It's pretty crazy. I didn't even
Ye-
know there was such a thing as being pro anorexic, but holy shit, you know what I mean?
Yeah, yeah, okay. But I mean, I mean, it's harmless in the sense of like, okay, if
To others, I guess.
right,
Sort of. I mean, you don't. The problem is I would think it would be horrible to induct new members because that's what I mean. Like, that's terrible for them, of course. But if you're going out looking for how do I properly trick my parents into thinking I'm eating, then you probably already know what you're doing. You know, it's a sickness though.
yeah,
Oh my god, I'd be so scared to have a kid right now because if they were like the internet is still pretty young and we haven't ironed out all these problems. So
well, I mean, it's questionable whether or not that I mean, what do you mean all those problems? I mean, there were other means of getting into the wrong kind of groups.
that's true. It's true. It worries me. Um, but yeah, so the other night I was just doing like basically I don't know, like my takeaway was I should be talking to women, not their men. The whole thing that prompted this was, of course, a Twitter conversation that I had.
Of
There's
course.
always a problem. It was with one of those guys that was one of them.
Okay.
You can't, and his deal was, I'm too short. I'll never get laid. And I'm like, you think Asian dudes never get pussy? Like, no Asian man has ever had sex, dude. The hell's the matter with you? Like, you don't have to be five. You don't even have to be a certain height. It's a crazy thing to be obsessed with, right? And I could tell by the fact that he had like an anime avatar and he was talking like he was young. He seemed like he didn't know how sex worked, anything. You know what I mean? And his whole thing is, I'm an incel because I'm too short. Like, dude, come on. If
Okay.
short people are unfuckable, there need nobody living in China.
Yeah, or short in general.
Or no short people. Exactly. Like how what do you think? Short people come from nowhere? They come from short genes.
Yeah.
I don't know. Yeah. Oh, that was a topic. If you don't know anything about it, then it's kind of pointless to even like bring up. Sorry.
No, I'm kind of wondering how to process it, right? Because it's you know, like it's pretty. So I mean, you know, like you always have to ask yourself, like is it really possible to judge?
Uh, Judge whether it's a good idea to be an incel or not, or just
No,
have a
but
group,
if
or
I don't know. I mean, I'm always trying to, you know, to kind of when I hear such topics and I try to make up my mind, what I'm doing is I'm kind of trying to apply to other circumstances,
yeah.
and then think about like, okay, so the way you're talking right now, I mean, so you're not well, let's say anorexic, right? And
No, I'm not.
right and from a health perspective, who knows, right? In a couple of years, that might be something that is not concerning anymore,
Right.
right?
Okay.
Right? They might kind of like say, okay, well, you know what? Yeah, you've got your supplements. We can take care that your throat doesn't dissolve slowly, or whatever,
Yeah. 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 Oh God.
right?
Yeah.
Um, and who knows, right? And then at that
Right.
point, you kind of like, okay, so let's say that concern is gone, and then okay, I mean, you know, like they're adults doing whatever they want to do, or young adults or whatever. Is it kind of like
Yeah.
what's the difference between this and I don't know, being a homosexual, for example, right?
Yeah. I mean, like, I think that there's like you according to DSM or whatever, you gotta have certain characteristics that make it a disease before it's an actual disease. Like if you just stop eating for a while, um, eventually you won't be able to eat. Like you won't have metabolism and stuff. You won't feel hungry anymore, which will cause you to lose weight. And there's plenty of people out there that don't eat regularly because they're starving, right? And they're
Mm-hmm.
not anorexic. If you give them food, then they would say, okay, it's time to eat. I think it has to do with sort of a pathology or whatever, where they actually believe that there are weird shit like that. Like they have body dysmorphia. So they look at themselves and they go, I'm so fat, when they're just a skeleton. You know what I mean? So
Sure.
I think they have to meet certain markers
Oh,
mentally
okay,
in
okay.
order
I'm
for
gonna
that. So,
sure.
you
I'm
know,
gonna grab you right on that argument. So, if I look in the
I
mirror,
mean, it's not an argument. It's just, I think that's how it is.
yeah,
But
okay.
yeah,
But
but
what I
yeah,
mean is like
yeah.
it's a difficult kind of thing, right? If you say like,
Of
okay,
course.
so you're born a man, you look at you know, like at you in the mirror, and you say like, this is just not me.
Yeah.
I'm actually a woman. Well, okay. Um, so you know, like 50 years ago, you know that there was a health concern where you said like, well, you can't just cut your dick off, right?
Yeah.
That's not gonna
Yeah.
it's not gonna fly.
Right.
And but nowadays, you know, we're medically at a state where we say like, okay, sure, it's possible to pursue that safely,
Right.
right?
I can see that. Yeah. And I kind of knew that this would come up because it's like if as soon as you sort of start talking about body modification, the question becomes, what at what point is your modification a sickness? Like the woman who's the living Barbie doll, or the cat man, or people who feel like they shouldn't have two legs. They believe that the other leg is somehow wrong. You know what I mean? And they get rid of it.
Mm-hmm.
That's actually I mean, these are real things too. However, no, nobody's stopping the Barbie girl. Nobody's stopping Catman from turning them, shaving their teeth down and tattooing themselves all over to have stripes or whatever, or spots. Nobody's saying that's too far. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
So the question is it, do they? No, nobody ever committed them. Like nobody said, "Listen,
Hello.
you there."
Yeah. Sorry, you broke up for a second.
Nobody's saying like, "Okay, listen, Doc, my husband thinks he's a cat. Look at all the tattoos. He's obsessed. He shaved his teeth down. You know what I mean? Like so he could look more cat-like."
Right.
There's a line there, and I'm not sure what it is. Think think if you look at it from a gender studies sort of perspective, the reason why they have gender studies is because you have to explore the idea that some people, their gender is different than the sex assigned at birth. So,
That's why
but I
no,
mean,
that's not
like
why
you're
they have
right.
gender studies.
I mean, well, I know that's not why they have gender, but I mean that's what the use of that would be to explore that further. It's one of the uses, I think. I mean, it's not like they go in there and they're like, "Yep, okay, so men are this and women are that, and here's your diploma." You know,
I don't
it's
know
got
why
to
they
be a
have.
little deeper than.
I don't know why they have diplomas in that anyway. It's because it's almost a philosophical application, right? Where you say like, okay,
They have philosophy degrees.
yeah, they have philosophy
So
degrees,
if
but
you can cock around with that all day, you can definitely.
no, you can't. Um,
Well, you can't make money. Let's put it that way.
yeah,
But
but
I mean, like
yep,
I
but
know if people did
it's
a
a
thesis
methodology,
on.
right? It's a
For
methodology
sure,
where you say,
it's
okay,
sociology though. It's a sociological study.
right,
Those it falls under humanities,
yeah, so it's a
soft science. You know.
yeah, it's a very soft science, right? And it's kind of like, okay, so yes, it makes sense to have a degree in something that would say, okay, those are the kind of methodologies we apply for topics
Mm-hmm.
like that, and then because it's a field of your interest, you can of course study that. Um, but you know, it's a weirdly specialized degree.
Well, there's plenty of those, so it's really hard to. I mean, I heard of a girl who got her freaking doctorate, and her thesis was about Harry Potter. So I mean, like you can do whatever you want. I mean, that's I guess it's a little loose, but yeah, it's this is unsurprising to me. People will just study just Tolkien or just. I was a little smarter if you're talking about like Tolstoy or something like that. But if you're like a lit major, these are going to be you're going to have like one segment of study. And since it's a soft science and not literature, it's less ridiculous than getting sort of a thesis done on Harry Potter. That's for sure. I mean, because people can actually apply that to their lives. You know what I mean?
Yeah, I know. Yeah, yeah, I agree.
So I mean, I'm a little. I guess I'm a little bit more lenient on we allow. So,
I mean,
but yeah,
I mean, it is. I mean, sure. Yeah. No. No. I agree. What you mean. But I mean, even if you okay, so even if you have a doctorate degree in Harry Potter, right?
Jesus Christ.
Then that's not what you have your PhD in, right? That's then something.
Yeah. It's in like I don't know contemporary literature,
Maybe.
contemporary fiction,
Yeah.
which is the
Anything that
worst.
would be less specific than yeah. I mean, I actually know an English major, and I think that he hasn't worked a day in his life.
How could he? What would he do?
I don't know.
Well, okay. Actually, I do know of a guy who does a broadcast. He does a stream. It's called Literary Hangover. He's a guy, and then he will talk about he'll talk about literature and writing, and not necessarily how to do it, but like the writers of I don't know, like a subject. You know what I mean? Like, oh, we're doing 1984. You know, we're doing Orwell in general. Okay, this is how this ties into that. This is Nathaniel Hawthorne, etc. So, but other than that, you can only just become a teacher, right? Nobody's going to pay you to sit around and you got to write about the writing. You know, you got to teach people about the writing. So it's not like you can walk into some place and set up shop and be like, the thing I do is I talk about literature. You know, the only place is on the internet. So
Yeah.
I mean, look, I'm a BFA, so at least art is a little bit useful. I can use it. I can use it for I don't know selling shit. That's pretty much. Um, it's a hell of a lot more useful than a. Strangely enough, it's a lot more useful than an English degree, and a hell of a lot more useful than a philosophy degree.
How about it?
Oh my God! One of my best friends was a philosophy major when I was, younger, and he's somebody I definitely wouldn't hang out with anymore because, you know, he was just an absurd, like, wannabe weirdo. But yeah, I mean, like, why would you become a philosophy major? I guess it's just for fun. I guess your parents have money. I don't know. You know what I mean? Like, what the hell?
Yeah.
Like, I feel like if you lived somewhere other than the United States, it would be all right. Because no one. It's kind of like being a poet. Like, there's no money in it. But if you want to live poor, you go somewhere where there's uh, subsidies for you, and then you do your lit major thing until you eventually probably make, I don't know, you write a book or something, and maybe you could sell it. That's about it.
Okay.
I don't know. That's all I could think of. Like, you go to Portugal, and you're set.
So apparently you've never been to Portugal.
No, I haven't been to Portugal.
Why are you set in Portugal?
Because these English people that I used to know, or his mom and dad, this dude, they came to visit, right?
Mm-hmm.
And they're English nationals, but they live in Portugal, and they're like, "Yeah, Portugal is dope. There's basically like you can live on a stipend. They take care of people, and certain like public commons is certain things are part of the commons that are not part of the commons here. So like internet and well, not at the time, but they didn't have to worry about apartment expenses. They would get a stipend. They were retirees, but still, like they were taken care of. And I think that it's functioning as a communist country right now, but I'm not quite sure.
Well, I guess from our
So I
perspective,
heard,
at least, right?
yeah, which is it's skewed.
Just good
So
as it
the other
gets.
night I was also talking about the nature of truth, whether
Oh,
truth actually matters anymore.
oh, I thought whether or not it's relative or not.
But it's relative, yeah, definitely. It
Is it?
doesn't, but I came to the conclusion, I think, that it doesn't matter. I mean, it might matter when you're trying to keep face with other people that you care about. Like, you wouldn't want to lie to your significant other, you wouldn't want to lie to family members, anybody that you care about, whether or not they see you in a good light, right? But if you lie for purposes like propaganda, etc., at some point you realize these are just lies on top of lies. No matter who's lying, it's whoever wins gets to decide what's true.
Yeah.
That's it's a tough nut to crack, and it's also hard to swallow. You know, 'Cause, here's where I'm at. How the Democrats are always just nitpicking that Trump is lying about this and lying about that, and they're like, actually, when Obama was in office, blah blah blah, and they have like this like lists and lists and lists of the times that he has lied about everything, from how much pizza he ate to what day it was. I mean, just like tons. They love being right. What has being right ever done for them? It's not good enough to just point out what's true. No one gives a shit, right? Am I wrong? I mean, it hasn't moved the needle. So at some point, you have to stop keeping track and try a different approach. That's why I think calling Trump fat is praxis. Because I think that takes a shot at him that he can't duck. You know what I mean? I feel like if you want to waver, if you want the worth of a tyrant. I know that sounds a little hyperbolic, but if you want to sully his image, you don't do it by showing him to be a liar or dishonest. Because if I'm a Trump supporter, I don't care if my guy lies because he's getting done what I need him to get done. I think he's cool when he's shitty to people. When he's an asshole, I'm gonna like it. I love it. I think that's my asshole up there, being mean to those people and
It's my asshole.
treating people. Yeah, don't you agree though? I mean,
Yeah, I know what you mean. Yes, yes. Actually, people like to see a fight. It's getting more and more like
oh
that,
yeah,
right? Where you say,
oh yeah,
like what's that about, right? This is, and I see that with political commentaries a lot.
yeah.
Yeah, where I kind of say, okay, so why is that a thing, right? Why do you judge a debate, for example, based on what kind of what kind of punchlines were delivered and so on. I mean, that's interesting from a. I mean, it's interesting debates, right? But if you look at back into the history of like, okay, I mean, the Romans started that, right? We kind of like derived from, okay, actually, it's not really important that a leader is somebody who can formulate himself well, right?
Yeah.
And of course, the hymn was intentional, by the way.
Oh, I didn't even think about
Yeah,
it.
okay. That's what to say. Yes.
Can't be a woman. I know.
Can't be a woman.
I don't know why you brought that up, but
Just
I
can't.
mean, like, look, you know how I am. I don't care about that. Feminism is it's a different facet of egalitarianism. So if people want to focus on that alone, then I find them to be useless. So like, I feel the same thing about identity politics in general. Like, if you're not talking about class, you're not talking about anything. Just being a woman is just another subset of a class. There's striations there. So I mean, I don't even care about that. I really think that in a lot of ways that's a red herring. You know what I mean?
No.
That's something for white women to get stuck on and fight for that isn't class related. Um, but anyway, yeah, the Romans definitely wanted to see a little bit of a jab. So isn't the real fight there? Isn't the real war not who's being truthful and who's calling out someone else's bullshit, but in fact it's whose rhetoric is better? Who's a better rhetorician? Yeah, rhetorician. Yeah, that's the word.
That's the word.
Yeah, it's hard because I stumbled over that the other day too. It's just like, who cares if Trump lies? We have to beat him. So if you can sully his image in other ways, why wouldn't you use it? I think that guerrilla politics is necessary. Even if it doesn't seem like it's necessarily. People are like, don't fat shame Donald Trump. I'm like, he's impossible to shame. This is not about him. This is about the appearance of him as a strong man versus just an old fatty. You know what I mean? Like, nobody takes some blobby old dude like Taft seriously. Okay? But if you're Mussolini and no one can call you fat, because you'll kill them. Because he was a chubster, right? Mussolini,
Yeah,
a little girthy, right?
yeah.
Same thing with Kim Jong Il. If you can't even, like, this is the death of discourse, because like, I can't call the guy fat. He is fat. They're telling me be civil. Civility is like, hey, why don't you shut up? Basically, when somebody starts crying civility, it's because you're making a point. I mean, I
Yeah.
don't like it.
Well, I don't think it's about crying, right? I tell you why. I think that if from a strategical standpoint, yes, I wouldn't do it. It's pointless and stupid, right?
Mhm.
That we even What really happened is, so we're talking about this now. It became a
Okay.
thing, right? That's going to occupy the media and the
Yes,
pundits, for,
exactly.
and it's basically something where I say like, okay, I mean, from a political stance, we should all not care about this whatsoever. Do I
Right.
but it's enticing enough that for that you have an opinion on it. Yes, I wouldn't do it because it's pointless. And other,
Even that is an opinion.
right, this is an opinion, and others would
Right.
say like yeah, like sure, I mean whatever punch you can throw. Um, but at the end of the day, it's kind of like, yeah, okay, who cares? You can have an opinion about that, and as soon as you vocalize it strongly enough, and it's gonna go back and forth in the media, and then all of a sudden different outlets will have a different opinion on it,
Right.
and
It's a time waster.
it's seriously something where you say like, okay, listen, we're all at home, we're facing something that I mean can definitely be called a international crisis, and
Hmm.
we're seriously talking about the weight of the current president
Yeah.
as in whether or not it's okay, to I don't know, to fat shame him or whatever the hell, it's kind of like, is this really what we should be concerned about?
Right.
And
Answer
that's
is of course no.
no, the answer is not only of course no, but what I'm saying is like you also have to realize that like um that kind of it's almost kind of like tell me what's in the news and or tell me what's not in the news and I tell you what's actually important, what you're missing. I mean,
Right.
we had the discussion before, right? When all of a sudden everybody's talking about something, then I get suspicious and say, wait, what's really going on right now? Because
Yeah.
there's
Yeah.
so much more important things right now happening. You cannot tell me that we're really gonna spend an hour of CNN talking about that.
It's and that's the problem, isn't it? Because like that day, or the day before, Nancy Pelosi had signed this bill that basically it didn't help anybody who is a working class person, but it definitely gave a lot of money unconditionally to banks and businesses and huge corporations during this crisis. They're making out like bandits, and normal people can't get a measly $2,000 a month to stay home. Nancy Pelosi is just as much to blame for this as Donald Trump because she goes along with everything he says. And then her only response is, well, I'll stir the pot by calling him fat. And that'll get the news media off of me, or at least off of the things I don't want them to know about.
Right.
Like, why expand? Why are we expanding Cobra instead of Medicare, Medicaid? I mean,
Yeah, right.
yeah,
That's
what the
hilarious.
fuck? Nobody likes Cobra.
No, it's
It's
the
a
worst.
$1 zillion a month, and it doesn't cover shit.
Yeah, no, it's the absolute worst. Like, what the hell is that? I don't even know. I
There's
seriously do not understand what that's for. It's absolutely like I do not understand that. Like, what the hell is that? Right? To say like, okay,
we have a current system in place. You could just let somebody who doesn't have that job anymore immediately apply for Medicaid. Why not?
no, no, it's worse than that. I mean, what what is Cobra?
Cobra is something that really bites.
No, yes, it's
but
something
I'm
really. No, if you say like, so if you think about I mean, how hilarious that is. It's like, okay, so you're missing an employer that would have like some kind of relationship with an insurance, right? Like,
worse.
right? Are you saying I can't just like have a contract with? So those are private entities, right? Those are private insurances.
Yeah.
Are you telling me I can't just have insurance directly with an insurance company?
Yeah, that's so weird, right? Why
Right.
can't I just
What?
why does it have to
Oh,
go
I
through the
need this,
employer?
and then depending on what kind of employer that is, that's going to dictate the rate because what? Because because that only works B2B. Like, how does that
It
make sense?
doesn't make sense unless you think about the fact that companies want to have more control over their employees' lives. Because that's all that it is.
This,
It's not necessarily just the Cobra, but I mean, like, it's the fact that health insurance is through your employer is insane. Because all that it is it's just keeping people, desperately attached to these jobs. So when they start treating you shitty, you really don't have much recourse if you have to have your cancer treatment. You know what I mean?
Yeah, yeah, I understand that, but I
That's what
mean,
it's all about,
y-
closing in
yeah, yeah, that's
closer.
but you see that I mean the argument against like a healthcare reform are sometimes like as stupid as well. You know what if people like their insurance is kind of like well that's not an option, is it? What are you
Right.
what are you saying is like what do you say to people that like to be slaves of their jobs is what you're really saying,
Yeah.
right?
Well,
Because
that's
what
exactly it, right?
so if that really was the case, right, and say like, okay, yes, oh, this is the best insurance I ever had, and I really want to keep on spending that money on it,
Yeah.
because I really like the person I talked to, then that actually means that okay, now I'm attached to this position that I'm currently working in, and I cannot operate on the free market like a true capitalist and say like, let's see where else I can sell my trade to.
Right. It's true. So that's why capitalism isn't really free market.
Well, I mean, yeah,
I
capitalism
mean,
would
it's one
be.
of the it's one of the it's one of the what do I want to say? It's one of the ways that you can tell that whatever we have here is not free market capitalism
Yes, yeah.
in the laissez-faire sort of way.
I agree with that. Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, like, pretty sure Adam Smith would shit a brick if he saw how this is working right now, and he's like the father of modern capitalism, right? But he never foresaw all of this fuckery. I suppose I would say, like, this isn't anything like. And I'm not saying that that's a great system anyway. I'm just saying we're not even doing that. It's just a kleptocracy.
Kleptocracy.
I mean, isn't it?
Yeah, no, I
I
think you're
didn't
right.
make up that word. That's a word that people use to describe it.
Oh, really? Okay, yeah. I
Yeah,
find it very fitting. I find it very fitting.
it's yours. Go ahead, use it.
Thank you. How's it licensed?
that's a good. That's a good freaking question. Somebody's probably, there's probably a book called Kleptocracy. I bet. Who knows who it's written by?
Yeah,
But anyway,
sounds like
so
Chomsky.
yeah, he doesn't. I don't think he goes for a portmanteau though. He doesn't seem like a portmanteau kind of guy. I think he would bristle at the idea of things like staycation and shit like that. He doesn't seem like a portmanteau
No,
man.
yeah, no, you're absolutely right. I mean,
Yeah,
and
yeah.
probably as a linguist, you shouldn't.
I disagree. I just don't think that's his style.
Mm.
As a linguist, I would be annoyed if he had a particular love of those words. I'd be like, ew, that's gross. But I would try to remember that, if you think that it's utilitarian, instead of just it's a dead thing that you have to keep like a really closed system on, then language is always expanding. And I kind of tend to agree more with the evolution of language instead of just sticking to rules. So even though I don't love portmanteaus, like, vacation, I'll allow it because
Oh, wow.
it would be against my principles. Say no, you can't do that. Especially if we're gonna have words for like all the internet memes that are coming out.
Yeah,
So I
that's
don't
true.
know.
We do have words for those, meanwhile, don't we?
Oh, we have tons of cool words now, like on fleek um and IOP, and there's just so many. And SK other things. I can't even explain it. It's something that I never understood, so I can't even remember the word for it. So forget it
Can't even.
anymore. I'm just the more I'm on the internet, the more I realize I died when Vines died because I don't care for TikTok, and that makes me an old fart.
You,
That's it.
you don't care for Tic Tac.
I don't like TikTok. I think they're too long. I think that Vines were 9 seconds for a reason. Or 7 seconds. I can't remember.
Wait,
Like,
wait, wait, you lost me. What are you talking about?
you know what the Vines were?
No.
Vines was like you could do like a 9 second video or a 7 second video, and that's all you got, right? So people could tell a quick story in 9 seconds, or show some cool thing they did in like 9 seconds, and then they'd upload it, and then people would watch it. It's kind of like TikTok, except there's I don't think there's a limit on TikTok. You could just keep going and going and going with your video. So, but the punchiness of the Vines is so good. Of the Vines is so good
Okay.
because you only had a limited amount of time to do something in. So,
So to get it across.
right, it made people very clever. With language, with jokes,
Oh,
dances. It was cool for me, I thought. Right.
okay. I seriously, it just completely passed me.
That's okay.
I have
I mean, I
no
never
notion.
made my own. I just watched them.
Yeah. No, but I would have really have to research it. I have no idea what you're talking about.
Yeah. You can find Vine compilations on YouTube. Fascinating. I
Okay.
know that sounds so, but if you like people, if you like studying how people interact, it's really neat. Like I like seeing how other people interact with their surroundings. There's a couple of Vines that people will do different versions of. Like they'll go all those balls in Walmart, they're all rubber balls and they're in this tall, tall stack. Like somebody will climb up into one and just like fall down inside of it. Weird shit like that. Like exploring their environment. It's like it's just stuff you gotta see.
Okay. Well, sure. Okay. Again, have to look that up before I can make an opinion. I've no.
Yeah,
It's like
I
we're
know.
talking to an alien here. Oh wait, I am an alien.
Oh my god. Well, welcome to Earth.
Yeah, my pleasure. I actually have to revert everything I did tonight. I just can't concentrate while I'm talking to you.
Oh, I'm sorry, man. Yeah.
That is,
Holy
I accept the apology.
This is mutual. I'm not drawing really, really super intently either. I'm kind of just, you know, noodling around with it, I guess is the word.
Is that the word?
Um, I guess so. It's really fast, like a cheetah. Yeah, cheetahs are the fastest land mammal, right? But
Um,
maybe I want to do a bird that's like a really freaking fast bird.
like a freaking fast bird.
Really fast bird. A condor or something. Actually matter which bird, I can just make a bird going extremely fast and just give it um, lots of expression lines.
Expression.
Yeah, that's what they are. They're expression lines, like where you can see where it's been before, so it's going in time. Cartooning.
Yeah, cartoony. That makes sense.
So we're just making a bird here, and it doesn't matter what kind of bird as long as it looks like it's a fast bird with really fast. This is going to be Korea, I think. Korea handled their shit really well.
Korea?
They tested, yeah, south, not north. But if we're talking about the COVID-19 crisis,
Otherwise,
then
yes, you
Korea.
mean.
The what?
Otherwise, yes, you mean.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah. Okay.
I don't know. I'm still working on the cartoon here.
Yeah, I
So
know. I'm actually just looking what you're doing here.
it just has to look like it's a fast freaking bird.
Yeah. I just have to
And
quickly.
some tail feathers that are very dynamic. It just has to look like he's moving at warp speed.
Yeah.
Expression lines. of expression lines. Then we'll have a little. I'm gonna give him one of these. I'm just gonna say Korea on it. Oren. Something like that. That's what I'll probably do. Yeah. I gotta find a way to make that a little bit more, to look at, but that's kind of what I want to go for. Like a flag. Actually, that would make sense because he'd be going so fast. So I'll probably make his expression line spell out the word Korea. Or smoke. Oh, that's it. Gonna have smoke coming off of him, and I'll say Korea.
Korea.
Yeah, and smoke. I don't know. So what's up with you lately? What do you want to talk? What's been in your lunch bowl, essentially? What's been in your line of sight?
Nothing really. I'm so busy lately that I really don't have any. I don't even know how to phrase that. Is burned out? Is that still a thing, or is that millennial?
Well, that's what people get. They're feeling burnt out. Yeah, I get that. I mean, millennial, those old fogies.
Right.
Oh my god.
Those pre-COVIDs.
Yeah. So I mean, honestly, it's just okay. So I'm going to my mother-in-law's this weekend to go eat, but I've been informed that it's only going to be us, so I'm not super worried about that, I suppose.
No, it's only going to be us. I know that because I'm invited with my crowd.
No, you can't come.
Yeah.
No, it's only going to be, yeah, your crowd is not invited.
And a couple of neighbors, just
I mean, like,
and their spouses. They're bringing dogs, and
your
just
spice.
just
I'm gonna say that the plural of spouses has to be spice.
is no, is it no?
Oh, what? Oh, I don't think so. But if the plural of mouse is mice,
Right, then who knows, right?
of course, yeah. So I don't know who's making those rules. That's some old English shit right there.
That's some old English, right? Yeah, yeah, yeah.
That's, that's gotta. I blame Chaucer specifically for changing mouse to mice. Just gonna say it.
Just gonna
Blame
say,
Chaucer.
I blame the French again, but okay, whatever for you guys.
Really? The way that they usually pluralize things seems more intuitive.
Maybe, maybe. Wait, I have to stop this here. Okay, nope.
What the hell are you working on?
I'm honestly just decided to